Alright, so this is the base build. This is an individual. I just made this up. Steven had a little bit of input on it too. This is the first eco clan compound. And it doesn't even have to be a clan. I mean, really, you just need 6 individual players, one for each one of these circular bases. They're honeycomb, sheet metal, and roof stack. This is just roof stack right there. With SAM turrets are just for like late game. Obviously, we'd have to get some BPs for it. Each individual side has its own gate, and when you go through the gate, it's got an airlock in it, and then it's got another garage door that leads to the inside. There's 6 separate furnaces. Those aren't individual, but it's just for cooking needs. Each base, okay, so you can tweak these however you want to. Obviously, we're going to get a lot of turrets, so each base is going to have 3 turrets on it, just like last time. And we could put more traps and shit. Like I said, all this is modifiable, so we can tweak all this stuff throughout, you know, the gameplay. And if we're going to play a monthly, this will be really easy to build. We just have to save up a lot of mats to build it. But you got a garage door for your first door. You got windows so you can look through the compound. You got airlock, and that's a double airlock after the garage door. And you can put armored doors on there at 1.2. It's not really going to tweak the cost of this base build. TC is back here with the ladder hatch that goes up. There's 2 garage doors on each one, and then another 2 garage doors across. So every single one of these buildings is bridge. But the kicker to this whole base is that not a single one of these buildings is attached to each other, even though it looks like it. Every single one of these is on an individual tool cupboard. So when you go down in here, so if we choose to have separate bases and everyone wants to keep their loot in a separate area, your individual upkeep is going to be 7,000, exactly 7,040 metal fragments a day. So for the price of like, what's that? That's like about 12 metal nodes in one day. And by the way, 12 metal nodes are super easy to get. Is one 24-hour cycle upkeep on each one of these. So let's see, I think it's like 6 rockets to go through sheet metal, so it's going to be 6. If they go through the square part, but they usually don't, it'll be 6 and then 12 until they get into the center. But like I said, you can modify it, so it's not that easy. If they go through the sides, it's 6, 12, 18 rockets just to get into one of these. But they're all bridged, so if one of them's getting blown into, we can take the loot and move it into any one of the 6 other bases. So this is the first eco clan compound. And it's an eco compound because it's not one massive resource gathering to upkeep the entire base. So in terms of how much it's going to take us to build this, we're looking at about 10k wood and then, you know, 200 metal frags times, you know, so probably I think we put maybe 60k metal frags into this. But I mean, that's really not that hard. That's 100 metal nodes that we'd have to farm as a group and then smelt them into fragments to be able to do this. And we can also start this off with stone, so it can have multiple things on it, and then we can just wait to do the honeycomb. But raiding this would literally be the most expensive raid target, because just to get into each individual one of these, if you went through the cheapest way, it'd be 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, 72 rockets to get the loot from all of this. And no one's running around with raids for 72 rockets, so unless we got zerged, we would literally be an unraidable base, especially if we did a mid to low pop server. So that works really good. Me and Steven were talking about it too, and if we wanted like a dock, if we had to build in the water like this, which is pretty likely because these huge flat spots are usually only available in the water, like you can see on the map right here, you know, in all the water spots, there's usually big enough flat spots for us to build something. So if we wanted to, we'd get rid of this airlock, and then we'd have a boat launch to be able to get out. It would just be easier to raid us from that side. But if it was, you know, like water that's deep enough that they'd have to swim, they'd only be able to use C4, so they wouldn't be able to use rockets to get through. And the cool part about it is that if someone does try to raid us and they blow one of these gates, if you build the walls first, the gate clips in. It doesn't do it if you do the walls afterward, so we'd be able to replace any gates. And that's the cool part on the cheap end, is that, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gates, so that's going to be, let's see, let me pull it up real quick. So a gate, so 6 gates, so 18,000 stone and 60 gears, which really in the long haul is super easy to get. So another thing we'd need eventually is we'd have to get metal barricades, but if we did get turrets first, metal barricades wouldn't be like too much of a necessity because the turrets would be able to keep people out of here. But when we do get metal barricades, this is, I mean, you can't ladder up. There's no way to ladder into it. there's just no way to get into this base unless you have explosives and you're going to blow into it. And even if they did try to raid it by laddering up and blowing these, I mean, obviously they'd have to deal with the auto turrets. And then even then, once we have high qual, you know, high qual doors on these frames instead of sheet metal, that's going to be what? 2C4, 4, 6, 8, just to get into the bottom floor. And then, like I said, customizable. So whatever you guys decide to do when you separate your loot rooms, and that is going to be a really fucking hard base to raid. So we got it set up too. So yeah, like I said, the 6 separated furnaces for all the stuff that we're going to have to cook. And then water actually makes plants grow faster, and it makes them grow more abundant too. So this whole area would be able to use for either more furnaces or plants. So this base literally, it's like a village in itself. So we're covered in defense. We have enough furnaces to be able to cook everything at the same time. And we have a huge area that we can gather our food from. So this is the build that we're thinking about doing for next wipe. So if you guys have any questions about it, let us know, and we'll talk about how we want to go about this build.